Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. My ultimate goal for this bull run is to see everybody that watches this channel make the most money possible. And so for today's video, I'm going to be breaking down two different narratives that I think are going to be giving us some of the best gains inside the market, and the majority of the retail adoption will take place here. This is going to be something that's going to help you guys out a lot in the markets, and I'm going to be breaking down exactly how to spot these narratives before they happen and how to have an advantage before the market takes off. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. So as we begin this cycle, it's important to have perspective on what is taking place and what is about to happen. Looking at each and every one of our cycles, we seem to follow the exact same pattern, where we have the bull cycle up, followed by a bear market correction. We pretty much start the first higher highs of the new bull trend, and then once our Bitcoin halving comes in, we see price expand into new all-time highs, as indicated right here. So now going into our next cycle that peaked at the end of 2013, we saw pretty much the same thing. Bear market correction, we start the first higher highs and higher lows of the new bull market, and that's right at the same time we get our next Bitcoin halving. What we notice happens right after our halving is price expands, and that's the same thing that happened here, price expanding going into a new all-time high run. In our last cycle, we saw once again the same turn of events, where we had the bull cycle, we had this massive bear market correction, we start the same higher highs and higher lows. The only difference is this one was a much bigger move and a much deeper correction on the way down in comparison with these first two cycles. Regardless, once we get the Bitcoin halving, which was right here, May 10th, 2020, that was where price expanded into new all-time highs. So once again, guys, we've seen the same pattern every single one of our cycles. And this is something that you don't really want to be betting against, in my opinion. So far, everything has been playing out in the same sort of ways. Looking at this current cycle, we see the same thing once again, where we have our bull cycle, we have the bear market correction, and we're literally at the first stages of those higher highs and higher lows. And so when we're looking at things, we haven't even had our Bitcoin halving yet. Our Bitcoin halving is projected to be April of 2024. That's next year. So what that means is the entire market is still at a relatively undervalued point, and we've seen the majority of our cycle impulse come in after our halving. So when we're looking at this cycle, like I've stated, guys, I believe we're headed upwards of 50K. From there, I think we'll see some type of correction back down. Who knows exactly how crazy it gets? I'm not trying to talk exact details. The point is, we're going to see a move coming back up. And where we've seen every single one of our cycles being at come the halving is about the same. Where if we're looking at where this was, this took place right in the mid-range point. If we're looking at where this was, this took place right in the mid-range of the cycle. If we're looking at where this was, this also took place right in the mid-range of the cycle. And so looking at where our mid-range of this cycle is, I would basically just say that it's about right here, relatively close to where we're at. We could potentially go maybe even a little bit lower, maybe down to about 31,500. But to me, that's the mid-range. So if we're going to end up being at a similar point going into this next halving, don't be surprised if we run up here, make a correction, and end up back down in this same point, leading into around the same point of our halving. We don't know exactly 100% how it's going to factor in, but these are just things to be looking at. All we know is that this has been a pattern that has played out each and every cycle, and thus far our cycle is seeming to be about the same as all of the other ones have in its own unique way. If we're looking at the same pattern repeating once more, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin being relatively close to that middle range point. The halving comes in, and that's where we see the majority of price expand. So before we're at that halving, this is still a great opportunity to look for those narratives before they've actually played out. So let's jump into that. Let's talk a little bit about how we can spot them, and two narratives I think are going to give some of the best upside potential moving forward from here. If we're wanting to understand how to spot narratives before they happen, one of the best tools that we have is actually a free thing called CoinGecko. And you could also use CoinMarketCap over in here, but regardless of which one, what you're going to notice is they have the categories option on both. This is going to sort all of the cryptos by different categories so that you're actually able to understand what they do a little bit easier, and you're able to index them a little bit faster as well. Now, when we're looking at this is a good opportunity to be able to study some of this, and like I said, it's just a free index that's online, anybody can use and be able to see it for themselves. And so when we're looking at this, really, guys, One of the first things that I look at when it comes time to talk for retail adoption is gaming. I believe that gaming is truly the easiest way that retail is going to find crypto. It makes sense because if you're talking in terms of people my age, which I know a lot of people that watch this channel are closer to 35 to 45 years old, in that range, because that's actually the peak demographic that watch me. So understanding that, I see a lot of people that maybe don't play as many video games, maybe haven't thought about that, maybe aren't as into NFTs or probably don't understand them at all. You kind of scratch your head wondering why people even look into the stuff and pay so much money for it. When the truth is, people my age are much more invested into the digital world. A lot of people my age have gaming consoles, sometimes multiple. A lot of people like to play video games. All of my friends pretty much like to play video games. And so I look at it as pretty much being the easiest on-ramp for retail adoption in crypto, because the average retail investor does not give a crap about investing. The average retail investor really doesn't care about anything for the most part. In the last cycle, they pretty much bought Dogecoin and Shiba Inu. So that just goes to show you the type of people that are generally going to be getting into crypto. So if we're looking at this, what is the sector that's going to see the most upside potential with retail adoption? I don't think that there's an easier one than gaming. And inside of gaming, you have different ecosystems that I think are going to provide some of the bigger gains as well. Now, the first one on today's video is going to be Vulcan Forge, or PYR. Now, one of the things I look for, and one of the ways I made the most money in the last cycle, was just simply looking for ecosystem altcoins, something that provides the opportunity for other altcoins to build on. Because if you see upside in one of the other altcoins that builds inside of your ecosystem, by default, the ecosystem profits as a whole. So I always look for something like that. What's something that can see a lot more adoption than the average altcoin? And PYR is one of those, because they have a lot of different things inside of their ecosystem, but it's a gaming ecosystem, right? They have a launchpad, they have ways to make games, produce games, and it's kind of like an all-in-one sort of platform. And I think that that's going to see a lot of upside potential going into this next bull run. Inside of the gaming ecosystems, you want something that can provide a platform for other things, because at the end of the day, like I said, it ultimately benefits the ecosystem as a whole. And if there's a token on the ecosystem like there is with PYR, I just don't think you can really go wrong. What we've seen in the shorter time frames, we just broke out of the range high and the accumulation that we've been in for a significant period of time. Time frame wise, you're looking at over 500 days, almost 550 days once we broke out. And as we're looking at this, I wouldn't be surprised to see one more high in here. But regardless, don't be surprised if we come back down and end up retesting these range highs as new support. That's something that could happen. And if you do see that happen, whether it's a higher high after, before we see that, I think it's a good opportunity to look for a long-term position, considering we spent so much time back down in here. It's not even a given that we're going to have that pullback. We might just teleport from here. It's kind of hard to say, but this is a long-term hold for me. I don't care about the short-term price. I'm just pointing out that these things are starting to move. So you're pretty much gonna, if you're not investing into these sectors now, as the market picks up, especially once we get closer to that halving, like I pointed out, the market's gonna leave you behind. And I'm not trying to produce FOMO. That's not my intention here. The thing is there has to be a certain level of understanding where you have to realize that, yeah, there has to be a certain level of FOMO because you have already missed out on buying all of these up to this point. Most people refuse to accumulate at the beginning of the cycles, and then once the market takes off is when everybody gets excited. I'm pointing to this one, not so much that I'm saying that you need to buy this altcoin right now. It's more of, if you get into these altcoins, it gives you certain accesses that are simply not going to be afforded once the bull cycle sets in even further. The ability to participate in launch pads, even inside of gaming launch pads, you have to be able to hold the token. You probably have to be staking the token as well. And so once people realize that, those sort of tokens explode in value. And so if you have the ability to afford those incentives, it's a great opportunity long term. At the end of the day, I'm just pointing out ones that I think are going to do well long term, and this is an ecosystem I'm invested in personally. So be watching out for Vulcan Forge. Now the next one on today's video is Wilder Worlds, and this is another one of those that I think is going to do well. When I'm talking in terms of altcoins that can see adoption, one of the things I'm looking at is how does the product actually play. And this is one that has amazing graphics. To me, the graphics are equally on par with any of the top-end video game developers inside of the mainstream world. And so this is one that can easily compete. And when you talk about things that can happen inside of NFTs and gaming, this one has its own marketplace. You can buy, sell, trade their NFTs. You can play in the metaverse. You can own your own stuff in the metaverse. So once people start really flocking to the metaverse and wanting to play in it, and there potentially becomes real estate available, which is ultimately inside of the NFTs themselves. Anything that's available in the game, those are going to become worth a lot of money. And a lot of this stuff, you can probably easily obtain it if you're actually playing the game. And so going into this next cycle, people are going to be surprised how much these assets become worth. These can easily compete with any of the top-end video game developers today. So far, we've just been accumulating on this bottom. And we're nearing the same point of a breakout as what we just saw with PYR. The only difference is we're still relatively undervalued here. I believe once we see that breakout, we're going to see these things swing all the way up to the top of these lower highs, or relatively close to. One of the biggest investors into this was actually Arthur Hayes, who is the ex-CEO of BitMEX, which was the top volume leverage exchange for a long time until he got arrested. And he's talked a lot about this altcoin, why he believes in it. And when we're really comparing it to a lot of the developers out there, it's not that far behind. And the thing about these altcoins is they have entire ecosystems, like I've stated. The fact that they have NFTs, they have these metaverses that are almost like real life in a lot of ways. Like, obviously it's pretend, but when we're talking in terms of how people my age view this stuff, you're going to look at this as being like their new life. Like, they're not going to leave their homes. They're going to play video games all day. They're going to live in the metaverse, and whichever metaverse provides the best opportunity for them to just kind of hang out and chill, I think those are going to see them first movers advantage. And this one, has graphics to compete with some of those other games, like I've stated. And so that's kind of one that I think is going to see a lot of ease of access, because the average person isn't going to want to come in here and play some of these stupid games on the blockchain. Some of them are going to want to actually have to play some that appeal to them, that seem realistic. And this is one of the only examples that I see inside of the market. And so far, the accumulation it's showing shows that it's going to have another one of these breakouts, similar to what we just saw with PYR. So be watching out for Wilder Worlds. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is NFTs. NFTs, in my opinion, are going to see some of the most upside potential out of the entire market, but the great opportunity comes with holding NFTs in the fact that they end up outperforming the native chain that they're on. So these are valued against Ethereum, right? When we're looking against Ethereum, as these things outperform as they go up in value, you're actually gaining more value of Ethereum, right? If this thing went all the way up to 100 Ethereum, you would just double your Ethereum that you have, that you can actually sell it for, your buying power. And so one of the great things I think about NFTs is the fact that they're going to actually outperform against Ethereum or whatever the native chain is. Now, when we're talking in terms of NFTs, a lot of the people that watch this channel are significantly older than me, and it really might confuse you why anybody would pay for these things, but it's because you most likely just don't understand NFTs. The world of digital collectibles is going to be the same. A lot of you guys could probably relate a little bit more with maybe like cards and collectible things like that. And we're seeing so many of those increasing in value as time goes on, and the collectibles market is actually starting to climb back up again and make a revival for the first time in, a long time at that. And so digital collectibles, I think, are going to hold just as much value, probably more value, because of the fact so many people my age really thrive on digitals. They like to play video games, they like to have these sort of things, and by owning NFTs, it's not just like you have some picture. It gets access to all kinds of perks, whether you get access to a video game economy, where you get access to different airdrops that happen, whether there's revenue sharing. It can happen. There's so many different opportunities that can happen inside of the NFT market. So you have to think a lot deeper than, wow, somebody's just paying all of this money for a stupid picture. Well, there's more to it than just that. And so if we're talking about where retail is going to invest, NFTs are obviously going to be where retail spends a lot of money, in my opinion. We're actually seeing them break out. So the CryptoPunks, the price is now breaking out of that descending resistance. So these are starting a new cycle. When we're coming over here and we're looking at the Bored Apes, this is basically Bitcoin and Ethereum. The Bored Apes look almost the same, they're just more volatile. These are the Ethereum of the NFT world. We have significantly increasing volume, a rounded bottom formation playing out, perfect Elliott waves all the way up in their cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with a big ABC correction. Now that this new money's flooding into it, we're about to see an uptick in volume across the board with these NFTs. And it all starts around the fact that the market's starting to break out. Now, I'm not saying that you guys need to go buy one of these for $60,000 or $100,000, whatever it is. I'm saying that there's opportunities because of the fact these are breaking out, the money is coming back into NFTs. And some of these are really, really, really undervalued. Now, in my opinion, the most undervalued, and the biggest opportunity that you're going to get inside of the NFT market is by getting into the Neo Tokyo Club. By getting access, by basically buying one of these, you get access to a private Discord server, and they actually have their own launch pad for different gaming altcoins. And so by holding and staking 200 of their in-game currency, which are called bytes, you actually get access to those, and you actually have to hold one of their citizens as well. But I mean, they're 9 Ethereum for a price floor, so I know that most people are already outpriced by that. But if you aren't somebody that is outpriced by that and you can afford it, I really, really, really think that people would be happy a couple years from now that they did. These guys are going to be at the forefront of the entire gaming economy in crypto. Alex Becker, which was one of the founders of this project, I was watching him before he ever got into crypto. I was watching his internet marketing stuff, and he was talking about his company that he was launching, and that same company he sold for like $250 million last year. So that guy has really, gone headfirst into crypto and specifically gaming. And this is his own project with Elio Trades. He's the other YouTuber, crypto YouTuber that is also one of the founders. So I think that this has a huge opportunity for upside. And if you're able to afford this, I would highly suggest looking into it at the very least. We're starting to see everything breaking out. We're starting to see things taking off. But I mean, regardless, if you have to buy this, but then you get access to different IDOs and launch pads inside of the gaming economy, some of those do 20, 50, 100x right at launch that you could make money off of. And so if you're getting into those, if it was 9 Ethereum to get in, you might pay that all off of one IDO launch. And I'm not sitting here saying that you guys need to go buy this. I bought one personally because I do believe in this type of stuff. I watched myself get outpriced very quickly on a lot of the launchpad projects because I didn't own enough of their tokens. And so that was kind of one of the things I wanted to fix going into this bull cycle. And this is one of the NFTs that just gets you access to those things. And that's kind of the cool thing with it. You get access to a lot of different stuff besides that, but I don't really want to get too much into that. I want to talk a little bit more about maybe some of the more undervalued picks that we can see inside of the market. Now, Mooncats, in my opinion, are going to be one of those picks. They haven't really done much, but they're one of the oldest altcoins in the market, going all the way back to 2017, pretty much at the beginning of the altcoin phase, pretty much at the beginning of NFTs as a whole. So this is one that's starting its uptrend. It's got good volume. We're just literally at the beginning stages of that uptrend, but you're talking, a third of an Ethereum compared to 9 Ethereum. These are going to be one of those that I expect to do well long term because of the collectible aspect, being one of the oldest NFTs on the Ethereum network, and being one of the first NFTs as a whole. I think that these are going to be the ones that end up seeing a decent amount of upside. So Mooncats is one to watch for. And then let's get over here into page 2. Another one that I would be watching for personally is going to be any of these Neo Tokyo related things, whether it's the land deeds or whether it's the outer identities. These are going to be something that ends up taking off in a big way. When we're looking at the outer identities, it looks the same as the other one I shared you that was worth 9 ETH, but it's only worth 0.888 ETH. And it's just barely breaking out of this bottom. So that's it. So that should be able to So that should give you guys a little perspective with this, considering it had an all-time high value of almost 10 Ethereum. So when we're looking at these things, you can still end up participating in some of the same features with Neo Tokyo, but at this point it's significantly cheaper, like 90% cheaper to get into this. So if that's an only option for you, I still think that that would be a good option because these are just barely breaking out. These are long-term bottom formations. And like I said, I think that these things are going to pick up a lot more in value once people see what they're actually gaining by being inside of this little video game economy. Now, that's pretty much the majority of them that I wanted to talk about. There's a lot in here. Feel free to go ahead and look. I'll link this stuff in the description so you guys can actually check it out. But I wanted to break down a few different thoughts for you guys, break down a few different narratives that I think are going to be giving some of the best returns inside of the market. As we're seeing ETH break out, we're seeing Bitcoin breaking out. We're still before the halving. I think the best opportunities, risk to reward, are pretty much right here because once ETH starts breaking out even higher, it runs up to 3,500. BTC goes to 50K. That's the point where a lot of people are going to feel more priced out than ever and feel the FOMO like ever before. So don't get priced out. Be focused in right now. once again, focus to hold on the long-term trend. And if you're following into these two narratives, in my opinion, they're really going to be profitable ones with retail adoption. So if you're looking for something as a way to make money when retail really starts to step in, now is the best time to be getting in, because we're going to start seeing retail picking up a lot more in 2024, and then 2025 going into our major cycle topping point. So anyways, guys, if you found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you guys want to join my Discord server and actually see how I'm investing my money long term over the course of the cycles, even going outside of crypto, getting into stocks, commodities, uranium, different sectors like that I've been really looking into. If you guys want to know everything going forward from here, you can check it out on my website, link below. One-time payment, lifetime access. You'll always be able to see what I'm doing. So with that being said, I just appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I'm breaking this stuff down because even though a lot of you guys will probably click off this video and don't want to listen, this is really where a lot of money is going to be made, and I think most people will be surprised long term. Thank you so much for tuning in, and with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.